See my that direction, set design.
There it is. Welcome to episode 10 of Echoes from the Arena. This episode is entitled La Tour. Uh, Dad showing off a cycling jersey behind him, uh, doing a little, for those who are listening, we apologize, but there's a Pogliahi Rigio, which I'm not even sure what that means. Well, I know what the last part is because that's our last name, but do we know what
Yes,
Pogliahi?
Polyagi is a frame manufacturer in
Oh,
Italy.
okay. So it's probably just another
Um,
last name.
so yeah, probably. And the Rigio, the Polyagi Rigio was a bike that was designed by my cousin Joe, who owned a business called the House of Wheels, where I worked a few summers as a bike mechanic, and we made custom racing bikes for people in and around the Western New York and Southern Ontario area. So yeah, at the time, this goes back to the 70s, and Pagliagi was a popular frame manufacturer in Italy, along with they were up there with Cinelli, uh, Campi, Campagnola, who made components. We've talked about that the other day. The Japanese do a wonderful job of fabricating and copying, and Shimano is probably as good now as Campi. Campi was like the Mercedes-Benz of components back in the day.
And for the day, we're talking like at this point, 60 years ago,
Yeah,
Six,
60s and 70s. Well, probably
55 years
even
ago.
40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
until Shimano really got into the market and brought the price of racing bikes down.
So we're talking about racing bikes, and when we say bikes, we mean bicycles as opposed to motorcycles.
Yes.
Excuse me. We're talking about that because we're going to talk about the Tour de France today. The grueling they should be able to copyright that word.
Hmm.
The grueling Tour de France. Um, Dad, what do you know about the tour?
More after this year. This was really the first year that I really, really focused on most of the stages, and I got up in the morning with my coffee, tuned into Peacock to watch the stages and learn about the a little bit about the strategy. But I'm hoping you're going to really go into detail about that a little bit later on,
Hmm.
and what it's all about, the point system, the team interactions. But I just enjoyed watching the riders and more again, more it's I got into the rider versus other riders, but also riders versus the elements,
Hmm.
riders versus the terrain. If you want a great travel log of France, watch the Tour de France because you'll get the Pyrenees, you'll get the Riviera,
You get the
you'll get the
farmland.
Alps, you'll get the flatland, the farmland that looks like Iowa, and then
Hmm.
all of a sudden you're into the beautiful rugged Alps, which I don't know how they do the hill climbs. And I don't know,
Well,
I
there.
think it's worse coming down than going up.
Well, imagine you're going 50 miles an hour, and everyone around you is going the same speed. Um, the ascents are more grueling, but obviously the descent is more dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
And we
Exactly.
saw that in this year's tour with some epic crashes on some descents. One that I swore would knock the guy out of the tour, but he did not. I think he finished. So I'll give you just a brief primer on the tour. Uh, it was born from a newspaper rivalry, which I believe we discussed in a short
Hmm.
maybe a few weeks ago. But the tour
Yes.
was created in 1903 by the French newspaper L'Auto, uh, just to boost circulation. L'Auto's part of their logo was yellow, and the yellow jersey was born from that, or as the French call it, mélange jaune. Um, and there are other jerseys as well, and I'll get into those in just a few minutes. Also, it was the first winner, Maurice Guerin, rode six stages that totaled about 2,500 kilometers. So those six stages were really long, comparatively speaking to the stages that they do
Oh yeah.
now. Um, it was interrupted by the wars, First and Second World Wars. The race was paused during both World Wars, so we have no winners from 1915 through 1918 and then 1940 through 1946. It's kind of interesting to me that they had one in 1939.
I know. Because we were at war, or they were at war.
Um, and then as I had stated in our short, I think it was, the yellow jersey's roots just come from the color of the newsprint to make the race leader stand out. It was introduced not originally when the tour was created, but in 1919. Dad, there was a stage this year
Hmm.
where they climbed an ascent onto a mountain, or it didn't really look like a mountain totally, but in fact, it looked like a foreign planet. Do you know
I
the one I'm
remember,
talking
yes, I
about?
remember that. Yes, I remember that one. That
Its
was,
name is Mont Ventoux,
yes.
and I looked up some information on it, and it's actually quite um, it's not just a mountain. So it's baked into I guess you would say, the aura of the tour
Hmm.
because it is uh, somebody died climbing this in
Hmm.
1967.
Okay.
A guy named by the name of Tom Simpson, a British rider, collapsed near the summit after pushing himself beyond his limits, reportedly fueled by alcohol and amphetamines.
Hmm.
Um, and as you may have learned if you listened to that short, that wasn't exactly out of the realm of possibility. There is a memorial that they rode past, I guess. I don't remember seeing it during the tour this year.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
remember seeing it either.
and then in 2016, the same climb, um, a crash left a guy without a bike, and he ran up the rest of the mountain in his cleats, in his riding
That, I
cleats. They
believe
did
that
show
was
that.
was that a British rider? Or was it a British
His
rider?
name was Chris Froome.
I do, yes, Froome. Froome also got into interesting altercation. I don't know if you came across that
I did not.
when you were doing. I'm just looking through my notes here, and I might have to come back to it because I don't remember
Come
where
back
it
to
is.
it because I got one more
I
thing
will.
on this
But
mountain.
Froome, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, Eddie Merckx needed oxygen after he raced on that stage. Now, what people may not know is that the stages change every year. So the tour may start in different places every year. It may not even start in France. There are years where it started in um, other countries. And it commonly has ridden through Belgium, which is a neighbor of France.
Hmm.
Um, but Eddie Merckx, known as what is it, the Cannibal Dad?
Yes, he is the cannibal.
He was known as the Cannibal, so even he was not immune to the wrath of this mountain, which we also saw this year in the 2025 tour in stage 16. I believe this tour was won by a Frenchman. The tour winner, Tadej Pogačar, came in third, I think, and extended his overall lead over Jonas Vingegaard. But the slopes of this mountain look like you're on a more colorful version of the moon,
Exactly. That's what I thought when I
right?
saw it.
Doesn't it look like that?
It does. It does.
To me, the curling, what are they called? Switchbacks up the mountain.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
They seemed to be devastatingly steep and really almost no area that's flat on that stage. So that was interesting. So that's the name is Mont Ventoux, uh, or known as the Giant of Provence or the Bald Mountain.
Because that was right. It wasn't like a couple days before they got to the Alps. So that's down in that, must be down in that
Yes.
southern, southeastern corner of
Yeah,
France.
I think it was either part of or after they went through the Pyrenees, was it? But before they got to the Alps.
Right, right.
So that mountain is famous. Um, Also, another piece of legendary terrain that has been raced on or raced to is the Col de l'Isère, which is 2,770 meters high. I'll do the math here real quick. This is great pod. Do you have any idea how many meters are in a foot, Dad? 'Cause-
No, but I know there's 39 inches in a 39 inches in a meter.
well, it's more than 7,000 feet high. I know that.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it's like 3 point something. But anyways, that's pretty high. I'm not going to go through the math because that's a
right,
shitty pod.
right.
Um, So there are four jerseys at this time. There's the Melon Jaune, the Melon Vert, or the green jersey, the Melon Blanc, the white jersey, and then the Melon à Point Rouge, or the polka dot jersey. Each one signifies something different, which is also part of what I think makes the tour really interesting because there's a what are called GC riders, which
Hmm.
you would have heard if you listened to the tour this year. So, Dad, you probably heard that term quite
Yes,
often.
I did. I did.
And that's what is it? General. What did it mean?
Yeah,
General.
I forgot what it
It's
meant.
not. It's not competition. Classification.
Oh,
General
okay.
classification rider. I believe is what it means. So there are guys that are racing for the overall time. There are guys that are
Hmm.
racing for points in different classifications, such as sprinting and climbing. So the yellow jersey is worn by the overall leader.
Right.
The best sprinter wears the green jersey. The best young rider under 26. So, uh, well, I'll get into that in a moment. Wears the white jersey, and then the polka dot jersey goes to the king of the mountains. So
Okay.
the person who has the most climbing points. And um, the tour is broken up into races within races. So if you watch any given stage, you will likely see points for sprinting and points for climbing. Depending on the difficulties, the points go up and down.
Now, let me ask you a question before you go
Sure.
on that. 'Cause I didn't see every single stage, but I saw
Mhm.
the majority of the stages. Now, is sprinting a component in every stage?
I think was there a sprint in every stage? I can't say that there was a sprint in every single stage. Um, but
I'm
it was in most stages.
Because I'm assuming probably hill climbs wouldn't be in every stage because once they get down around the Mediterranean area, it's fairly flat.
Yeah, I don't know that there were climbs on every stage. It's just there's climbs on most stages, and then at
Right.
some stages it's mostly climbs. Um, so the as far as the roadsides, if you've seen clips of the Tour de France, and I can post some stuff after this episode, but if you've seen clips of the Tour de France, it's startling and sometimes a problem as to how close the crowd can get to the action. Um, there have been instances where riders end up striking pedestrians who are trying to cross the frickin' road during a. It's like they pick that time to then cross the road, but
Right.
um, I think that's pretty interesting. And over 12 million spectators line the road each year. So that's not a small amount. And then just on the last stage down the Champs uh, Elysees was over 500,000 just in that one alone. I think they counted that based off of what the numbers were in the Olympics last year. because the 21st or last stage of this 2025 Tour de France took place in the same route that they used for the Olympic. Um, I want to say it was a sprint or it was a time trial, maybe. Or maybe it might have just been a regular race,
Yeah, yeah,
but it was won by Remco Evenepoel, who had to drop out of the Tour de France, I believe, after like the 12th or 13th stage because he was just gassed and was not going to make it up a mountain.
right, right, right. No, it's just referring back to when you were talking about the crowd being or the spectators being right on top of the action, and they were. And
Literally.
if you
Yeah.
watched a lot of um, the NBC, Steve Perino, who was doing some special interest uh,
See the guy who
coverage.
looks like the dad from Modern Family?
Yes, yes, and he was a skier, so he does a lot of the downhill skiing
Okay.
commentary. But they put him on they put him on doing like special interest reports on the tour. But he was talking to these people that had their RV
Oh,
and they
I
were
saw
following
this.
the action.
I
I
saw
mean, they had
that.
their signage out. The one was that they emigrated from, I believe, the Czech Republic,
I
and
think I know
they're
exactly what you're
living
talking
in
about.
downstate New York, and they were following the action. They had their signage, and then they were, when the bikers went by, they
Back it
packed
up
up
and
and went an alternate route and got in front of the leader and got themselves ready for for the riders as they came through another checkpoint. So great fandom, but I just wanted to, because we were talking earlier, you mentioned Chris Froome, who had to actually run up a mountain until he got a replacement bike. In 2018, he had a hockey moment.
ooh,
He was like there's some innuendos about his that he was possibly doping in the past. So the crowd got a little
hmm,
overzealous with him.
gotcha.
So tempers flared, and Froome was pushed and spat at during a stage. And Mr. Froome decided to take
Take the
matters into
law
his
into
own
his own
hand and
hands.
threw a few punches. So there you go.
It's
See,
like
so
Malice at the Palace.
that's
It's like the
right.
Pistons all over again.
And another one which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't. It's kind of again. You're saying how close the spectators are to the action. Actually, in 2022, animals on the course have caused pileups before.
I didn't know that.
Um, uh,
Although that
uh,
doesn't surprise me.
for some reason, a shepherd had a group of goats on the course, which caused quite a pile up. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, or not goats, sheep, because I said shepherd, so it was sheep.
Hmm.
So people kind of walked away sheepishly, but there was
Unintended.
fortunately no one was hurt. And interesting. I don't know if you remember this. I think I remember this. In 2022, do you remember the climate protesters that were
Ooh,
blocking the race and had to
kind
be
of.
dragged off the circuit? So just a few oddities I wanted to just chime in with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we
So
do have
there
to
you go.
live on this planet. We should think
Yes,
about
yes,
that.
we
But
do.
maybe, the race of bicycles isn't the place to do that. Although there are a lot of cars, I will say that the
Tons
teams
of
are.
cars.
I'm surprised there's not more incidents with that. Um,
Well, didn't on one of the stages, one of the latter stages this year, there was wasn't a rider kind of nudged by one of the support
vehicle
vehicles?
wouldn't surprise me.
I don't
There's a
know if
lot of crap like that.
I could see, because some of these roads aren't that wide, especially in the
Yeah.
villages. So
Mhm.
you got the support vehicles, you
Well,
got
the vehicles were never, or the roads were never meant for vehicles like that.
no,
They were meant for
I
horse and
know.
cart.
Then you had motorbikes, obviously, with
Mhm.
the coverage people on it,
Cameraman.
the media, the cameramen. So a lot going on
Those guys are getting a serious core workout.
during
Those
a
guys with the
race.
cameras.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine?
So
Um,
yes, yes. So you can go ahead there, Maddie. I'm
well, I
enjoying
was gonna
this.
say, I think something that you and I have discussed off camera and off pod is the team dynamics
Right,
of
right,
the racing. How each team has domestiques who sacrifice their own chances to win to
right,
support the leader or win the overall stage. They may win a stage. And just how many different ways to win there are. You don't have to win the yellow jersey to get on the podium
right,
at the
right,
end. At the
right.
end. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about game theory. So it's not just about who pedals the fastest, but also who plays the game the smartest, right?
Okay, right.
Across 3 weeks, 3+ weeks, if you're counting what they get 2 days off, so 23 days.
Yeah,
So the riders and the teams are not just chasing a yellow jersey or the Maillot Jaune. They're chasing stage wins for sponsors, their state sprint points, mountain classification points, and team rankings because each has its own incentive and maybe upside and downside, but the team rankings are important for sponsors as well, especially for the main sponsor, that title sponsor. The numbers that they wear, the team that's in the lead in the rankings gets to wear something that looks like it has like a yellow on it.
right, right.
So they had like the last stage coming in to France this year. The UAE team was leading the team rankings. Now they ended up
Right.
losing it at the end
Okay, okay.
to Team Visma, but they came in with a different uh, different uniforms themselves,
Hmm.
but also the cars were wrapped in something new. So they had to do that overnight. So you think about what these teams are doing, guys to fix bikes or techs to fix bikes, making adjustments on the fly, maybe fixing something on a bike
Hmm.
out the
Yeah,
window of a vehicle.
yeah, yeah.
So there's more than just the general classification riders that we hear about. And the reason that we're not really talking about too many riders specifically is there have been a lot of allegations of doping across a lot of people that have won
Right,
a
right.
lot of tours. So uh, I don't really want to talk about Lance Armstrong, so we're not going to talk about him. But that the reason for that is because the only guys who seem to be clean that we know of for sure, as far as performance enhancing drugs. I don't know that alcohol is really performance enhancing. Um, but I would say some of the older riders who were abusing amphetamines in order to get
Hmm.
an edge,
Hmm.
and then maybe like right now
Yeah.
because they're getting tested after every race. The winner's getting tested.
Uh, Let me ask you this. I just I can't. I'm I got a timeline issue now. I just want to because you mentioned Lance Armstrong and
Yeah.
his issues, so we're not gonna dwell on that. But Greg LeMond was another great American road racer. Was he before Armstrong or after
Oh,
Armstrong?
well before.
Oh, well before. Okay, because he was the
Yeah.
first. He was the first rider that I knew.
He also
Um,
has he won the closest tour ever,
okay,
which was by 8 seconds. And I believe he won 5 tours,
he won
I
quite a
think.
few. Yeah, he was a dominant force for a while.
And he won at least one tour after he got shot with a shotgun, with I think birdshot or
Hmm.
something.
Yeah.
Something very, it was a very strange
Hmm,
Dick
yeah.
Cheney-esque uh, type of accident. It was weird. Um, but anyway, let's talk about game theory just a little bit. So, with multiple objectives, with there being multiple objectives, there's multiple areas where you have to play defense and have to play offense.
hmm
There's
Yep.
alliances and betrayals. You have cyclists form temporary coalitions to chase breakaways or control the peloton. So we should probably talk about what the peloton is. The peloton is the main mass of bikers. The peloton can change in size um, and kind of scope as like length, I would say, within some reason.
hmm hmm
Or So that's what the Peloton is. So that the main group of riders is not necessary. It may contain the leader, it may not contain the leader. It
Okay.
just depends on what's going on in the race at that time. So there's different attacks happening at different times, and the Peloton at times can reel the attack in by, okay, two riders go out ahead or one rider goes out ahead. The Peloton doesn't want somebody getting too much of a lead. Maybe they start to follow somebody who is picking up the pace and they reel that rider in.
Right, right.
Or several riders go out and reel those riders in.
Well, I was even watching, and I think there was it was towards the end of the race. It was towards the end of it wasn't the last stage, but it was one of the latter stages. But I remember okay, you had the Peloton,
Uh-huh.
and you had you had like you had the leader, and I don't think he was alone. I think there was somebody else up there with him.
hmm
But then you had this in between. You had this chase pack of. Do you remember that? They had like maybe six riders.
hmm
And they were kind of taking turns setting the pace.
Yeah.
And I know one of the riders I know must not have been setting the pace as another rider wanted, and he got a little
He
animated on the bike.
Well, I think that
So I thought
guy
that was
was not
interesting.
taking his turn.
Okay,
He was not taking his turn, so he was just coming along for the ride. And I think he got a
gotcha.
little animated with that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of dynamics going on in a race.
So let me talk about some game theory concepts in action at the Tour de France. So we think of zero sum game versus a non-zero sum game. So stage wins are zero sum, but a team success can be shared a non-zero sum dynamic. Signaling, so riders feint attacks to test the rival's reactions, which is what we just talked about. So
Right,
that's
right,
psychological warfare on wheels.
right, right.
You make an attack, or maybe they send an attacker out to see, okay, does that other team come and reel me in? If not, maybe I want some of my sprinters going out ahead so that I have a satellite rider to send my general classification leader to as
hmm
we get near the end of the race.
Right,
Because
right,
the best riders, so to speak, the people with the best times are very often not leading the tour
right, right,
races, so to speak. Although Tadej Pogacar did win three or four stages this year,
right. Yeah.
but if you start to watch it, as you'll see, I do skip ahead sometimes because usually watching a replay. So I
hmm
do skip
hmm
ahead a little bit, but I'm making sure not to do anything. I don't skip anywhere around a sprint or a climbing classification uh, point opportunity because that's where the races within the races take place.
Right, right.
There's something called Nash equilibrium. So the peloton pacing stabilizes when no rider benefits from changing strategy alone. Does that make sense? And then
Yep.
I think the best one is actually the last one that I have, which is a prisoner's dilemma. Riders in a breakaway. So let's say there's six riders. There's 50 miles left. Each wants to win the stage. They must work together if they're going to get to the end of the stage before the chase group catches up with them. If they betray each other, they risk all collapsing,
Okay.
but each of them wants to win the stage alone. So that's the prisoner's dilemma. If they
Oh,
stab
gotcha.
each other in the
Gotcha.
back, they're screwed. They can't do it together, or they can't do it separately. They have to try to do it together. So what you'll often see is teams must manage internal tensions within a team. There have to
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
selfless riders that are willing
Yeah.
to. The American rider this year seemed like the guy with the crazy facial hair. Seemed like he was one of those riders this year for trying to think what team he was on. I think he wasn't Giant. It was the Lidl team.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Lidl.
That's
Trek, Team Trek.
Team
That's who
track.
it
Okay.
was.
Okay.
But he set paces. He reeled guys in. He, I think, came in second in one stage, but really wasn't that close to winning a stage. But
Right.
he did a lot of, I think he was one of the most aggressive riders um, this year.
Well, that's just fascinating about the race because, like you've said, it's not just a I'm the fastest guy out here because it's a 3 week race. So
Yeah.
there has to be so many dynamics going on.
So you also
Uh,
have attacking early might win a stage, but you might
hmm.
also burn out your guy.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
And since it's a
Exactly.
team, you can't necessarily afford to burn out a guy because that rider in the next race doesn't really get the opportunity. They can't take the whole race off. Now, there were two time trials this year. Usually there are two time trials. I don't know how far back those go, but there are two time trials, and that's maybe an opportunity for like a day off for those guys.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
But they can't have atrocious times. They still have to finish within X amount of the leader. Um, so it's I had seen it or I had viewed it described as chess at 40 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's like a chess match. When you were talking about some of their strategy. Now, let me
It's like,
ask you this.
well, one second.
Yeah.
Calculating when to strike
Right.
is like that's really the question for these teams with big general classification riders. Although Team UAE right now seems to have the opportunity to do whatever they want because they have the best guy in the world.
Right.
But them deciding when they're going to attack to make sure that they don't waste any energy because of later stages, I think
Hmm.
is really
Hmm.
interesting, especially early on in the tour when it's like, oh, well, no one can win it right now, but you can definitely lose it.
Yeah. Well, you can. You can. Now, regarding the participants, now, if you are, as we were talking off camera a while back, and we were talking about the people that did not that have been that dropped out of the race for
Yeah.
one reason or another, crashes,
Mhm.
injuries. Maybe some people just, were gassed and couldn't do it anymore. I don't think that's usually the case, but now
Well,
are slower riders disqualified that can't keep up with the
I don't
peloton?
know the specific percentage, but you have to finish within a certain, I think it's not I don't know if it's a time, but there was a stage in which the sprint leader who ended up winning the sprint jersey,
Hmm.
um, Jonathan Milan this year, he
Right.
was 31 minutes behind the leader.
Okay.
And they were talking Bob Roll and I watched on Peacock, and they were talking about is he at risk of maybe not finishing fast enough where he's going to get disqualified. However, he was with a group of almost 40 other riders.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they don't disqualify.
Yeah, because that's a lot of the
That's a
peloton.
lot of the starting group.
Right.
It has to be a certain percentage of riders that have to be a certain amount off of the leader.
Right. Right.
And if the number of riders that are off breaks a certain threshold, then no, they're not
Right. Right.
removed from the tour. But you have to start and finish each stage within the allotted time frame.
Okay. Yeah.
So guys that crash um, can still finish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was the one crash that we saw this year where that guy basically took the skin off the right side of his body,
Yeah, and he was back on a
and
bike.
he was back on the bike.
The yeah, because we were we were talking just before we went on the air, and I was looking at the just some superlatives to describe this race, and you used the perfect word to describe it early on when you said grueling, and it is grueling, and I'm always fascinated by these contests of just amazing stamina, marathons,
Hmm.
triathlons, those skiers that like come down sheer mountains, extreme skiers.
Yeah.
Um, Lard Hamilton with the big waves. And
Hmm.
but when it comes to endurance and pushing your body to the absolute limit, I don't think there's much beyond the Tour de France. Um, I kind of equate it with, you are riding more than you would in many of the stages. You're riding farther than you would in the bike phase of a triathlon. Or if you're equating it just the simple um, you know, idea of pushing your body to its limits, for 21 days out of 23, you're basically running a marathon per day. That's the
It's
way I'm looking at it, as far as what your body's, has to endure. Does that seem accurate? Does that
yeah,
seem like
it's I think it's a crucible.
exactly? That's another good word to use. I know one thing. I saw pretty much every rider with probably single digit body fat. I mean,
Oh,
we're
y-
talking very very well conditioned athletes and
and a
big
percentage of them
quads, huge
fail, and a
quads.
percentage of them just fail.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there, and that's a good interpretation, I think. The one of the riders that dropped out, it was simply because he didn't get enough training in before. He
Okay,
didn't
okay,
train up to the amount of miles that or kilometers that he was really going to need to do.
right.
And he was doing the tour knowing that he might not be able to finish it. Um, and I think that was Remco Evenepoel, who I had mentioned earlier. I think he had either had an injury or he had gotten in a crash. And by the time he made it back, he was a little late starting for his tour training. And he got to the bottom of a mountain on a stage and just couldn't do it anymore.
Well, we were talking last week I think when we were doing either the short or we were talking just about this jersey behind me, and I was telling giving me a little bit of history of the bike.
Hmm.
We used to have a customer who was a competitive racer from Southern Ontario,
Hmm.
and he would bike. Him and his, I think, son would bike from St. Catharines, Ontario, to Clarence, New York, which is east side of Buffalo,
East of Buffalo.
east of Buffalo.
Yeah.
He would bike from there, go to our store, and back again. So how many miles would that be from St. Catharines to Clarence? That's what we're talking about. I mean, it's not insanely far, but it's probably what we're talking at least 75 miles, 60 miles.
It's got to be at least 60 miles, I
So
would
60
say.
there and back, that's 120 miles. That's you're covering.
That's
Eh,
that's a stage.
So we're just talking. That's how these guys are just amazing athletes. So they might be on a bike, they have to power that bike. So it's just incredible. And I really enjoyed. I can't wait to next year's. Now you were talking next year they're going to start outside of France, did you say?
Next year they're going to start on in Barcelona,
Okay. Okay.
or if you're using Castilian, Barcelona,
That's right.
I
There you
believe
go.
is the
So,
correct pronunciation, depending on where you're from.
hmm
Um, I had just typed in here's something interesting. Uh, Game theory on the last stage of 2025's Tour de France. How about that? You want a little
Okay.
on that?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
think this is actually quite interesting. So you had Tadej Pogačar, who was the leader at the time by over 4 minutes over the second place rider, Jonas. It looks like it's pronounced Vingegaard, but I think it's pronounced Vingegaard
Well,
or
he's from
something like
where?
that. He's from
Is he a scan?
Denmark.
He's a Dan. Okay, he's a Dane. Okay.
He's Dane. And Tadej Pogačar is Slovenian, along with Anze Kopitar and uh, Doncic,
And I
Luka
and I do,
Doncic.
and I did hear during one of the stages, which now the winner of the tour did not. Is it true he did not ride for Slovenia in the Olympics last year?
Correct.
And the reason
And
being that
it's actually,
his
oh, hold on. You're going
okay,
to step on something that's
okay,
part of this, actually,
oh, okay,
which
okay,
is
okay,
interesting
okay,
because
okay.
did you have a, did we have a mind meld? Because I was literally just going to bring this up.
Must have, Maddie, because yeah,
So here are the, if we break down stage 21 or the last tour, or the last stage of this past tour, you had Tadej Pogacar, who's already in the yellow jersey. So his goal was preservation, avoid risk, maintain control. However, he did not participate in the Olympics last year because his partner, the female Slovenian champion, was not invited to the Olympics. She was not invited, even though she was a champion of her country. He said that he would not go. So he had not raced this stage before. So he had some internal drive, maybe, to go out and win this stage because the guy who won uh, this, I guess we'll call it a stage in the Olympics, although it was just a one-off race, I think,
right, right,
was no longer in this year's tour. That was Remco Evenepoel.
right,
And he maybe wanted to show the Olympics, hey, here's what you missed out on.
yeah, exactly,
Then you
exactly,
have the sprinters. So Wout van Aert, Jonathan Milan, Miniam Girmay. So they targeted the green jersey and stage win. Although I want to say, I think going into stage 21, Jonathan Milan had already clinched the green jersey. You had some teams that had not won any stages. So this is going to be their last chance to show off their sponsors.
right, right,
And then you have breakaway specialists. So see opportunity in the cobbled climbs to try to escape the peloton. We have some of the same things that we looked at, as I mentioned earlier. You've got breakaway riders had to collaborate to stay ahead, but each wants solo glory. The peloton pace stabilized when no team can benefit from changing tactics alone. And there are some different tactics going on in stage 21, which is there is some more ceremonial pieces of it at the beginning where they're taking
right.
pictures. There's not really racing going on yet until they hit the Champs-Élysées.
Well, I love
Uh,
when they got into Paris, they had that camera at that low angle camera, like they have at auto races too, where you see
mhm.
the speed of the vehicles and the speed of the bikes going through there was mind-boggling. I don't know what speed they were going when they entered Paris. I'm sure what about 35, 40 miles an hour, maybe faster. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, they might be going faster. I want to say there were guys who were averaging over 40
I was
kilometers
going to ask you, what's the average of a
speed.
speed?
I want to say it was in the 40s.
Okay, okay, but I mean, let me ask you this for the listeners and the viewers. So that final stage, uh, you and I discussed the way they gather points and what have you, and
Mhm.
the the champion did win. What do you say about 4 or 5 stages? Did he win
I think you
in
won
the race?
three, between three
So
and five stages. Yeah.
was there any way? other than, n not able to finish, that he could have lost that race?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Because his team was protecting him.
Okay.
He always had riders from his own team around him,
Right, right.
or
Okay.
some of them near him.
Yeah.
Like he always had somebody in front of him, so he could save his energy. And for a lot of the time, I think he was actually almost surrounded by riders from his own team. But even then, even if he crashed, if the people in front of him in any class, they would slow down until he got
Right.
up.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Depending on the reason for the crash, I guess you would say. I looked, the average this year was 42.8 kilometers per
Kilometers per
hour.
hour.
That's
Okay.
the average for the riders.
Well,
That's not the leaders.
yeah,
So the
that's
leaders might
moving.
be at like 46.
That's moving on a race bike,
They
racing bike.
consume up to
So
130 grams of carbs per hour.
yeah, that's another subject we might have to discuss in a show in another episode, because just to be able when you're riding that long in the summer, I don't know what the temperatures were, and I know when they were up in altitude it wasn't that bad, but I'm sure when they were lower it might have been some heat
It
issues.
was
But
130
was it?
on the tarmac. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you had
It
to
was in the 90s, on lower hundreds,
you
and
got to
on the
yeah,
blacktop, it's obviously a lot
you
lower.
have to have to hydrate. You have to fuel your body, because you're again, it's like marathon running. You're using all your reserves. So it's that's a fascinating science in itself.
Yeah, I think nutrition
Hmm.
certainly
Hmm. Hmm.
plays a big part in it.
And they didn't have a lot of recovery time, so I'm sure it's tough to wind down after a 150-kilometer race. And you got to wind down, you got to eat, you got to rest, and then be up the next day and get ready to go again. So it's definitely a test of both physical stamina and mental fortitude.
Mhm.
Lots of waging a lot of battles between your ears there.
That's the other thing I was going to say is we have not even really touched on, we've talked on the physical toll that it takes, but let's
Yeah.
think about the mental battle that's
Hmm.
going on between your ears
Yeah.
when you are a rider who is maybe part of a chase group to catch a leader, and you've now fallen off the chase pace and you've got
Hmm.
sucked back in by the peloton.
Right. Right.
And you look down at your watch, or you look down at whatever the apparatuses that they're looking at the map on, or communications wise, and you see that you still have 80 miles to go. So you're not even close to finishing.
Right. Right.
And how do you keep up I don't know, how do you have the fortitude to continue to drive on is, I think, very impressive.
It's funny we're talking about nutrition and sports science to get these riders prepared for the next day. Sleep, obviously, is very important. I came across another tidbit of information regarding the early days of the tour. And believe it or
Mhm.
not, in the early days, um, before they went on a climb, many riders would actually smoke cigarettes, thinking that the smoke would expand the lungs. So it's ironic how, these crazy notions kind of popped up in early sport. Like the night we did the show on Susan Langland, who used to take
Mhm.
a nip of brandy on her changeovers.
I know plenty guys
So there
that
you go.
have a bottle of bourbon in their golf bag,
Well, definitely. Yes.
a small bottle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. So
Um,
there you
yeah.
go.
So, um, what else do you want to know about the tour? I think the jerseys are pretty cool. I love the polka
Jerseys are
dot jersey
cool.
because
As
they
I
go
said,
all the way down to the polka dot socks and
it's a
stuff.
great, yeah. You got that. You've got the fandom. The fans are rabid fans. They're all over the place.
The women's Tour de France is
Um,
going on right
how's
now.
that going on
It's
now?
on
Is that
Peacock.
being covered?
It's on
What's
Peacock.
Oh, is that okay? I didn't know that. I have to maybe catch that tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Is that as long as the men's?
I
Or
don't know anything really about it. I had
okay,
asked Jen if the king of the mountains is the queen of the mountains,
Queen of
and
the
that
Mountains. Yeah, you gotta have the Queen of the
I
Mountain.
would think it would be. She wasn't sure, and I wore this shirt specifically for today.
Well, there you go, Arsenal.
In
Yeah,
French. I love Arsenal.
the just a program note for you Premiership fans. Everton and Man U just kicked off 9 minutes ago, so
Oh, I was gonna put it on.
they're playing in front of quite a few people in Atlanta. Atlanta has a really good soccer.
Well, they had a very good.
Um,
They had a very good team for quite
they
some
have
time.
a good team, and they have a lot of support in Atlanta for both the Atlanta United team and when these touring teams come in. Although, well, we can attest to that. The year Arsenal played Chelsea here in
Was
Orlando.
this was that the summer series? Not to get off topic.
I don't know if that was an actual
I
series. I think they were just playing. A number of teams are in the States playing exhibitions.
Interesting.
I don't know if they did an actual series. They might have.
It
I
might
know
have
they
been. There
did.
was a
They
lot
did
of
have a game,
stuff there.
but we had whoa. There had to be close to 60,000 there that night. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, that's widely known as like the game that started the Arteta era, really,
okay, okay,
because it was 4-0 win against Chelsea, who was supposed to be pretty good at the time, and that was Gabriel Jesus's kind of coming out party. Which unfortunately, he's been marred with injury since, at least for the past 2 seasons.
right,
Got really hot this year, but for that really brief period, and then had a ACL injury.
right,
I think they're trying to sell his rights. Um, he might go back to Brazil. I think there's also Premier League interest
right.
because
Well, I'm sure there'll be
you don't
interest.
just set yeah, they don't just grow on trees. Guys
Yeah,
who are Premier League tested that at least have the ability to score goals. So, but the
but
Premier League starts about 2 weeks from our taping
yeah,
now, which
about
today
two
it's
weeks from
August 3rd.
this. Yeah, 2 weeks from yesterday, I think
Yeah,
there'll be Arsenal opens up against Man U.
at that's at Old Trafford.
That's at Old Trafford. Uh,
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, getting back to the Tour de France, this was a fun show. I think we pretty much covered a lot of the info. Hopefully, people who are not familiar with it and are listening will, watch. It's fun to watch, and there's
Hmm.
now they're going to be doing a race in this month, I believe, in Spain. Is it
Yeah.
the Tour in
Yeah.
Spain? I don't know.
Hmm.
Again, I don't know anything about that race. I don't know if it's the same distance or what have you, or same number of stages, but it is
There's also
fascinating to watch.
the Hero d'Italia.
Okay, yeah,
I think that's how it's pronounced. GIRO.
yeah, yes, it
Um,
is.
I think that is one that Pogacar has raced previously. It sounded like he was not going to be racing for a little while after this tour,
Well,
and
I
he
would say it
was
takes a while to recover. I don't know how any of these racers could, and I'm sure a lot of them will be racing in Spain.
yeah,
I don't know how they would prepare for that. I mean, that's a lot to ask.
yeah,
That is, and as you say, it's not just the physical
toll.
toll, it's the mental toll
Hmm.
of trying to be so focused, laser focused for a long period of time.
Hmm.
You just think, if you're descending on a course, you're moving.
Sometimes upwards of almost 60 miles an
And
hour.
if that bike, if that front wheel gets the least bit, you know, out of line, um,
Or you hit what they called this year
or
was
you hit something,
traffic
yeah.
furniture
Yeah, yeah. So,
areas that have pieces of concrete in the middle to split the roads up. They tried to use, looked like police officers doing all sorts of gesturing, and they have cones and stuff, but
because
some areas are painted orange, but If you're in the Peloton, like somebody right in front of you, you're not going to see that immediately.
Well, that's where I believe that crash that we were talking about earlier was the guy that had the road rash on his elbow and back. I
He
don't
was
even,
going too fast.
I remember, yeah, I remember he turned the wheel or something and it got to the point where the wheel was forced overboard and he crashed. Miraculously, nobody hit him and everybody got through there. But yeah, you're kind of you're kind of in no man's land there at some
Mm.
point. So that's another
Th-
possibility.
That crash, I believe that rider said he was trying to communicate with his team. Um the his vision was bad at the time because of the
Right,
weather.
right, right.
I believe there was some light rain coming down, but it was very slick also, and he was just coming in too hot for that corner and laid the bike down like he was riding on a hog.
Do you remember then? Do you remember that the stage? And I spoke to you earlier in the day, and I said I had watched it, but you said you were going to watch it that evening.
Yeah, I did.
And do you remember that how it ended? It ended in that rainstorm
Yep.
with a crash.
Hmm.
So what happens? You're at the mercy of
Some
the elements.
Yeah, some guys really ate shit this year.
Yeah, yeah,
It, but it also gave me a much greater respect for that sport, having actually watched the full tour. I
right.
think I might, maybe like you, I think I missed two stages,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe 8 and 9 or 7 and 8, but I watched the rest of it.
Well, I missed the first stage because I just didn't realize it was
It started
happening.
yet.
And then I
Yeah,
got into the fact that okay, it started, so I got to find out where I could watch it, and Peacock did a really good job covering it. Uh, and a little bit of the action was on the weekends on NBC, but they just more or less recapped what was on Peacock. So watch Peacock. They got a lot of good, you know, a lot of really good events. So there you go.
yeah. Uh, I had a, was there any other sports related things we wanted to talk about?
Yes, I actually want to talk about we're starting and we talked about this earlier in season, and we want to talk about giving uh, accolades to Division III athletic departments.
Mm, right.
And we're going to go down and we're going to try to hit some numerous programs and probably do it either once a month or maybe twice a month and just talk about the program, talk about if there's any well-known professional athletes that came out of a program. I can think of one off the top of my head. London Fletcher
Hmm.
came out of John Carroll University, which is in Cleveland. Uh, maybe
Didn't they have another guy?
Don Shula actually
No, never
uh,
heard of him.
came out of John
How
Carroll.
is that not a penalty? Oh, they did call it,
Oh,
but
uh, um,
sorry.
but anyway, we're going to, and I'm going to call it, when we do this, we're going to do an MVP, which is the most valuable program. We're going to talk about the program, and some programs we're going to talk about have been very successful programs. Other programs might not be as successful, but we really want to, there's, and I've put the stats down, but I know there's 40% of college athletes um, governed, by the NCAA are playing D3 sports.
Mm,
So that's 200,000. I think it's roughly 200,000 athletes play Division III,
wow.
which means most of them are not going to turn pro. They're going to be just like you and I. They're going to go to work after they get the degree and what have you. So you want to give these people their due. So that's why we're doing this. So I think the first program we're going to do, well, not I think I know, the first program we're going to do is Adrian College, the Adrian
Hmm.
College Bulldogs.
Okay.
And they compete in the MIAA, the Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Association. Um, They have numerous sports. They have a huge athletic department. They have an education department. They graduate a lot of phys ed majors, so they do have a really good sports program. So we're going to talk about them first. So that's how we're going to start off on our next episode. So it's not going to be the whole episode. It'll be a small segment
Just a
of the
snippet,
episode.
a
Yeah,
segment of the episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'll learn a little bit about Adrian College, where it's located, um, their mascot, which is a bulldog, and some history behind the various programs. So I know they started I actually attended. I was there my freshman year in 71 through 72, and then transferred to Niagara University. But uh, Adrian was what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. But I totally lost my train of thought.
Well, we will cover it and
But
in
we'll
the next
cover it. Oh,
episode.
I know what I was going to say. They
Yes.
didn't at the time, but they have a really good men's and women's hockey program now. They built a rink on campus, which wasn't there when I was there. They have one unique sport. Well, it's not a unique sport, but it's unique to college. They have a
Yeah.
figure skating program.
Interesting.
So one of the
Can
few colleges that have that.
Canisius had one of the only um, synchronized swimming teams.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I did not know that. So,
Let me take us out on this episode on the Tour de France with a little bit of Tour de France um, information. I've talked about Tadej Pogacar, who was the 2025 winner, quite a bit this episode. I've also referenced Remco Evenepoel, who would be the reigning Olympic champion in cycling. But 12 days into the tour, Belgian star Remco Evenepoel stepped off his bike out of the race, not because he had crashed, although he had crashed well before the tour. Um, Not because he lost time, but because he listened not to the crowd, not to the team, but he listened to his body. He started the tour with a broken rib from a crash that he had previously sustained and a bit of worn down spirit. He had started training late, so every pedal stroke was pain. Broken rib, you can't breathe.
mhm. Yeah,
Without
really.
some pain, you can't really do anything. So every climb was a battle against himself. And when he finally abandoned, he didn't just leave the race, he left a message. It's okay to stop. It's okay to feel tired. It's okay to be human. Sometimes stepping back is the strongest thing you can do.
Exactly.
So, in a sport that glorifies suffering, and we talked about just the grueling nature of that sport, um, Remco's decision was radical. And I think he should be celebrated for it, not condemned.
Yeah, definitely. Most
So
definitely.
he knew when to say enough is enough. And I'm sure part of that is hoping that he can race later in the year or come back next year with a renewed spirit,
I'm glad.
and renewed body
Right.
to try to knock somebody off of their perch.
Yeah.
Whether it's he becomes the second best racer in the world because Tadej Pogacar is still so good, or he finds a way to become the best in the world.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it's a great it's a great ending to this year's Tour de France. And um I'm thinking as you were talking about him, thinking, I have to, I just can't do this anymore with the injury and what have you. But you think of guys like Barry Sanders,
Mhm.
who at the top of his career said enough is enough, and so it's
I
not it's not wrong to listen to your body and say, either I need to step back from this event because I'm just
Mhm.
not there,
Or I need
or
to
I
hang
need
him
to
up
call it a
altogether.
career because it's a game which is gonna, it could mess you up. So very good.
So that's Echoes from the Arena for episode 10. So for Greg, I am Matt, and we're signing off for this evening. We'll catch
Good
you on the
night.
next episode.